Well, Dorian Gray, in my version, is a beautiful young man who becomes the face of a new fragrance called Immortal.
He's kind of a socialite it boy, London it boy, but starts off as a waiter, an unknown.
He's discovered by a photographer called Basil.
Basically, through his image that he creates of Dorian, propels him into this kind of stardom, this iconic figure.
He becomes his inspiration, his love, really.
And then another character, Lady H, orchestrates it all and kind of corrupts him.
I see his obsession for the camera and I take him on as my project.
Lady H is a very powerful woman in the world that he wants to get on in.
She leads him down the wrong path and he takes this hedonistic journey through debauchery, really.
For me, something that was exciting about the novel was what it suggested when I first read it when I was 18 or 19. It felt like it was about things that you couldn't speak about.
There's so much that Oscar Wilde couldn't say. It was in between the lines, you know, it was written in the subtext.
And when I came to think about doing it as a stage production, I thought those themes seemed to work extremely well for now rather than then. And one of those things would be the obsession with youth, you know, which has never been more prevalent than it is now.
It's very much a world that focuses on the beauty, the look, whether you fit in that, you know, shoot, in that scene.
I think it's even more contemporary at the moment, really. There's sort of age of narcissism in a way, you could say.
And the idea of retaining youth, people are pretty obsessed about.
The Oscar Wilde, it's about corrupting youth, but putting it into the world of celebrity for us made it a kind of much more relevant thing for today.
The more I looked into it, the more it seemed to be about what it's like to be recognised and famous and become a celebrity and what that does to you, how that changes you.
You've got to look at Britney Spears and her spiralling down, and other people who find themselves in a world that they really want to be in. And when they get there, they can't quite control it in the way that they'll think they can. And it takes over and it changes them.
Because essentially Dorian Gray is a cautionary tale really about someone who changes through the influences that surround them. But it's also about what can happen when an ordinary person, the light is turned on them. Becoming a celebrity means that you can make your own rules, everyone wants to be your friend, everyone wants to know you, you don't pay for much, all sorts of things that are unreal to most people, and it kind of affects the mind a little bit. And when I went back to the novel to read it again, having had all these thoughts, it was sort of telling me to go even further with these ideas and to take them further as well. And that includes the relationships, the central relationships of the people, Basil and Dorian in particular. Basil is really obsessed with Dorian, he's in love with him. You know, and that's very clear in the novel in 1890, more so than you would remember probably from reading it. It's obsessive, you know, it's completely clear. It's different for me because I've never adapted a novel before, a lot more open in a way, a lot more free, particularly as we were having a new score, so I wasn't working with a score, which can often be like a script for me.
Music that arrives through discussion with Matt about what's happening within the scenes, and literally it comes from the specific drama of each scene.
And I knew he had a great theatrical ear, you know, and that's absolutely what I need for telling a story. And it was a very filmic approach, you know, having the score to work with.
So I think as long as you come from the requirements of the piece and not superimpose something from outside, it should work. If everything comes from the drama.
And incredibly varied as well. It's not a score that all feels the same. Each piece is completely different and feels very up to the minute and very theatrical. I've never made a piece set in the present. All those things were like going out of our comfort zones. For myself, for Les, the designer, Terry, the composer, all stuff we didn't feel completely confident about, actually, but we pushed ourselves to go there.
I think the themes are kind of universal and a bit timeless in that it is about an innocent, whether he's in Victorian London or whether he's in modern London, being corrupted by a society he finds himself in, is relevant, and therefore it does strike a chord.
So the dancers, for me, the performers in the show are very much collaborators as well, because you're workshopping it every day, really. You don't, all the decisions aren't made beforehand, and they very much contribute to the piece. Richard Windsor, who plays Dorian, I really wouldn't have made the piece without him. People would be surprised to hear that. They would think, oh, he's going to have the idea for the piece first and then the cast. With me, the cast came first.
For me, as a dancer, but also as an actor, is kind of like it's a bit of a joy, really, to work with someone like that. We do get a real opportunity to kind of create movement ourselves, as parts of the movement, and then Matthew really has a great eye for you know, reworking it slightly, changing it, putting it into a scene.
He gives you a great amount of responsibility for the character that you're creating. He's very sensitive to his dancers as artists, and he will respect the way you develop a character.
We put the set into rehearsal so that it becomes intrinsic, but also it then suggests other locations and other things you can do with it.
So you don't feel all the decisions are made when you get into the studio. You feel that you've got this playground to play with, and these blocks and this chair and this bed and things that you can use.
It's a great collaboration. It goes backwards and forwards. It isn't, I don't think Matt's ever said, I want this. It's always been, how can we tell the story?
It keeps the collaboration going. It doesn't feel like, I think with a lot of design, it can be like, well, here it is, plonked down, that's your set for this, and that's your set for that, and make that work, you know, whereas this still feels fluid.
I think that's really wonderful, the fact that Matthew explored this other side of his work.
Feels a very modern, fashionable story as well to be told, and the way we've told it, you know, in this very contemporary feel, and I think it really just fit in with the time.
It's more of a piece that makes you think and reflect on the role that an audience has on the life of a celebrity.
It's a fantastic reaction from the audience, actually, because you often get notes and things from people who enjoy it, but this time there's been a great kind of wave of people writing to us and saying that it struck a chord with them, or it's meant something to them.
And they are loving the show. They can't stop clapping. You know, seem to be getting so many good responses at the end. You know, when we talk to people after the show, they just can't say enough good things about it, really.
The whole point of doing this piece was to try something different and to go to a darker place. And it is very personal to me, the piece. It's got a lot of me in it, and I identify with it very strongly. That may sound odd because, you know, a lot of the characters are quite nasty and not the sort of people you would like to know particularly, but I do understand the world it's in, and I understand that power of youth. You know, just walking in a club, being young, being 18, you felt enormous power. And it's about that, what happens when you become this creature that everyone recognises and wants to know. And that's the story of it, really. That's the essence of this version of Dorian Gray.